Fam, what is going on? It is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Can I get a roll tide? What's going on? I appreciate you guys being here. Today is Monday. Today is October 28th, and I appreciate you guys for joining me today on this fine Monday. Today on the show, you got the closing on the Missouri game. We're going to wrap it up, right? We're going to give these guys credit and be realistic at the same time. We're going to talk about the AP College Football Top 25. We're going to talk about the playoff watch, right? Playoffs. And you got the SEC outlook and the playoff watch, right? I guess we'll double up on that. I'll fix the graphic. Season grades and look at Pro Football Focus from a couple different vantage points. Take an early look at Alabama versus LSU, and we'll play some Monday morning quarterback. What that means to me is take some calls. I appreciate you guys being here. Let me know where you're coming from inside the comment box. Thank you very much for joining me on this Monday. You know, I think after a game like that, you know, and kind of before we start showing some graphics and things like that, I think, you know, and I said this, and I'm still going to live on this. Look, I look at the play of Alabama, and I just look at Alabama. I'm not even looking at Missouri right now. And one thing that you have to do in the SEC, in college football, if you want to win football games, really at any level, is play really good defense. You have to run the football effectively, right? And you have to be able to utilize the players that are best suited on your football team. And I think collectively, when you look to Alabama, and of course, you have to play really good special teams. And I think when you look to Alabama in this last game, did they do that in each of those categories? And I would say yes. Regardless of the opponent, I think when you looked at just Alabama collectively, they did that. So I'm taking it as a lot of momentum. I feel good about it. And, you know, we go into this next open week with momentum. And that's exactly what this team needs. I appreciate you guys being here, Kyle Anderson, Bama Football on YouTube. So I get it. Look, I'm realistic about the team that they played. Was Missouri, you know, a top-tier team? No. Were they hurting? Yes. Was their quarterback out? Yes. I get all that. I understand all that. I'm not looking at Missouri. I'm looking at Alabama. And how did Alabama play, and how did they execute? And they executed to the best of their abilities, which is a great time to start doing that because all eyes are on Alabama. Is this a team that can work their way back into the playoffs? Look, their back is against the wall, and they are going to be judged on how they play every single quarter from here on out. They have two losses. We understand that. We know what's at stake. So, yeah, we lock on and we ride all that momentum. You get healthy. You go into this game with momentum, and honestly, you take it to LSU. I like the fact that the game's in Baton Rouge. I really do. I love it because, look, regardless that if they won or lost, you go to it's a challenging environment. The SEC is crazy this year. That is going to be a very challenging place to play. Can you maintain the right psychological mindset to be able to play at a high level against a very good LSU team? Probably against the best quarterback that you faced all year. All right? That's the challenge. And the challenge, I put it on the thumbnail today, be the underdog. Can you remain the underdog? You didn't win anything against Missouri. You really didn't. Other than getting momentum, you didn't qualify for the playoffs. You didn't qualify to play in the SEC championship. People still think you're vulnerable. People still look at the loss to Vanderbilt. People still look at the loss to Tennessee and think that they can beat you. So prove them wrong, right? Back is against the wall. What's up, Todd? What's up, Bama Mike, KTK, Max Tooney, Bama Champ, everybody inside the comment box. All right, feeling good this morning. But I do have to hit on something personally, all right? So this morning, unfortunately, my grandfather, age 84, he passed away peacefully at his home. This is my mother's father, around his kids. And yeah, it's difficult anytime that you have to go through death in life. And I definitely am hurting inside. I might wear it well, but this is a man that was certainly iconic. Real pillar in the family. Guy went to work every single day, never complained, self-made man, loved his wife, my grandmother, for, 60 years plus that they were married, live in a small ranching community in Clayton, New Mexico. So I appreciate, I don't really bring a lot of personal stuff on here. But yeah, I will be traveling back to New Mexico at some point in time for the services. So, this is all fresh. This just happened this morning. So I appreciate you guys supporting me and keeping, my mom in your guys' prayers along with the rest of my family. So I appreciate it. But, we gotta take time to obviously honor a great man, but, we work is work. So, we go back to work. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, when we look at the detail of this game between Alabama and Missouri, there's a couple things that definitely stand out to me. And if you caught my show yesterday on Sunday, I kind of pointed out to a couple different things that stood out to me between the two teams when you look side by side. And again, I'm being realistic, and I understand who they played. Okay, but I'm looking at how they executed. That's how I'm framing this game, okay? So total yards, 486, love it. I like the fact that Alabama was able to have a balanced offense, and what I mean by that is pass and run. 215 yards, 271 yards, and I get it. Jalen Milroe is a polarizing topic to talk about, but when you look at the overall play, how did they execute? You see that when you put up nearly 500 yards of offense in SEC play against the number 9 defense in the country, it's good. Now, there's a couple things that do stand out to me as well. Only 2 of 9 on third downs. That is not going to fly. That is not something that is premier level football. But on the flip side, you have 3 and 13 from Missouri. Again, I don't really look at that because they were playing with, that quarterback that they had in the back, he's just not it. But that sort of stuff does stand out to me. Now, this is right here, the 37 rushes for 271 yards. I like when Alabama runs the football. We've been talking about run the ball, and I really think kind of in the back end of the season, specifically again against LSU, I don't want the defense to be caught in a bad position. So how do you counter that as a coach? I would imagine time of possession plays a major role in a game like this against LSU. It's going to be hostile. It's going to be really loud. It's going to be hard for the communication standpoint. Pound the ball. You saw, if you had any reservations about Justice Haynes and his physicality that he has, my goodness, man, the guy just showed you, he just put somebody in the dirt against Missouri. So these guys are capable to carry the load along with Jalen Milroe, right? You look at the overall totals for this team, 37 rushes for 271 yards. The ground game was popping. I still feel that you can run the ball with this team. I really do. I get it. We're all talking about Justice Haynes today, but Jam Miller, he was eating too. And when you look to Jam Miller and you kind of show the graphics of where he can run outside the tackle, inside, Jam is that guy. He is the featured back. Let him run the ball. Let him get established and let him kind of milk that clock if he can. Now, I'm not going to lie, that run against Justice Haynes is one of my favorite plays this entire season. And then, my goodness, Richard Young. Woo, my man, that was kind of a release, I think, for a lot of fans and probably for Richard Young himself, because the first couple times that we saw Richard Young, their teams were able to bottle him up. He got put in some weird situations kind of at the back end of the game. But that run, man, Ty Simpson comes out, first of all, and literally his back is in the end zone. He's in the end zone. I like that drive. And I like that 4th down stop. There was a lot of positives about that point in time. But 37 rushes for 271 yards. Run the ball. We love it. And look, that makes Alabama fans happy because Alabama fans already know that running the ball wins games. So does defense, right? You look at the receiving detail, Jeremy Bernard. People have been really hyping up Jeremy Bernard, and sometimes I think he gets kind of lost in the shuffle because Ryan Williams is just like a mega star. Jeremy Bernard has hands, and he is absolutely it. This guy is having a really good season. We'll look at the stats here in a second. I'll take some calls on the back end. Ryan Williams, 4 for 53, and then I really like how they were able to use Kendrick Law, right? Utilizing the different players and your playmakers overall. And there's a rumor going around. I don't know if this is true. I don't even know if we'll ever find this out. But I've seen this happen in the past, that Coach Kalen DeBoer was calling the plays around mid-second quarter throughout the rest of the game. Something changed because the offense started going. Someone said they saw him with a play sheet. I've seen this before, though. When Alabama's defense plays well, Nick Saban was calling the plays and Pete Golding was to the side. So I have no idea. All I know is the offense started going towards that second part of the game, and I liked it. I'm here for it. So if he was calling the plays, clearly, things were working. On the defensive side of the ball, this is what stood out to me. The fact that Jahad Campbell played absolutely lights out in this game. 8 tackles. he would look like a man on the mission from literally the very first snap of the game when he sacked the quarterback on that. Was that the first play or the second play when they ran that gadget play? Like the flea flicker from Tecmo Bowl? Those things never work. And then Bray Hubbard, he was put in a situation where he has to start. All eyes are going to be on him. And you know what? Missouri, with Brady Cook, they challenged Alabama twice, if I remember correctly. Xavier Brown was tested, made a really good play, and I think they went after Malachi Moore, and the ball hit his head. So they were challenged at least a couple times. But Bray Hubbard coming up with the interception, really happy for the kid. He has a huge community that follows him from the state of Mississippi. He balled out for sure. And you're looking at game balls, he's one of them. So really glad that Bray Hubbard had the game that he did and shoots. And I told you this before the game. The times that I've seen Bray Hubbard, he's everywhere. He has like a nose for the football. So now he came into this game with 20 tackles. 20 tackles, and he had 7. So 27 tackles. We'll look at the stats in the back end, but I think it's 27 tackles for Bray Hubbard this season. The guy's like an old school tackler too. All right, here's the season rushing grades for Alabama so far when you look to the game detail. I circled a couple things that stood out to me. Look at the averages by the running backs on the far right, 6'1", 6'4", 7'3", and I get it. Richard Young's only ran the football 12 times. In football, like 4 yards is outstanding. If your running back is averaging like 4'1", you are feeding this dude. Think about it. I mean, it's only 10 yards for a first down, right? So these guys are averaging. That's what I'm saying. I really still feel that Alabama can run the football when they need to. And I think they're going to need to the rest of the way. 6.1, 6.4, 7.3, like that is promising. And if you feed these guys in the right situations, man, they got big playability, strong runners. I mean, what's not to like about Jam, Justice, or Richard Young? I mean, those guys are absolutely it. So, and I would like to see those guys get more carries because I think there's probably a little bit of wear and tear on Jalen just because that's the game. And the offensive line, pass protection, he's getting hit. And he's taking hits whether he's running it out. Like I'm talking about Jalen Milroe. You want to eliminate him from being injured, clearly. So give the football to the running backs, the guys that have that high wear and tear. And you have 3 of them that can take the load off in the running game. Bet James, the time has not been announced to my knowledge for Alabama and LSU. I would imagine it's in the evening time. I think it could be as late as 8 p.m., right? Is that true? We haven't covered an 8 p.m. game yet on the watch-along. I don't even know. And I was thinking about it. I mentioned this earlier, my, depending on the services of my grandfather, trying to figure all that out, with the watch-along. So I'll keep you guys posted. We might be doing a watch-along from Clayton, New Mexico. I have no idea. I will keep you guys posted. And again, thank you very much for thoughts and prayers. You're looking at Jalen Milroe right here. And I mentioned this a couple different times when you look to kind of the last 3 games. And I want to also point this out. The last 2 teams that he's played, each of the defenses have been within the top 10. Tennessee had the number 2 defense, and Missouri had the number 9. So these are the stats as they are. 215 against Missouri, 16 of 26, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He's been sacked, 7, 8, 9 times, 10, 11 in SEC play. We talked about the offensive line, a couple different times. And look, he's going up against really good defenses. Plus, in these last 3 games, I think we can all, no matter how you feel about Jalen Milroe, if you feel there needs to be another quarterback, this or that, we can all agree, I think, that he has been less accurate the last 3 games. I think we talked about this yesterday, that it was Ryan Williams that he didn't finish his route, so the ball was placed in a different area. But there was a couple times that maybe a receiver dropped one. But straight up, Jalen Milroe has been inaccurate compared to this first part of the season, something that we've talked about and openly discussed on the show. Upon further review, when you're looking at Alabama against Missouri, we'll move past this game in just a second. I said great win at the right time, an area where clearly Alabama needed the football. I guess I was emotional at that time because I said Missouri was terrible. I just didn't think they were a good football team at all. I knew it was going to be a shutout from the jump. Milroe seemed inaccurate. We talked about that. We talked about with Coach Kalen DeBoer calling the plays in the second quarter, running the ball, the future key to success. I strongly feel that. Wanted to hit on Kendrick Law. Thought he did really well. And he's so dangerous with the football in hand. What's up, Case? I see you inside the comment box. And then I think I've been a little bit skeptical on Graham Nicholson. I just didn't know, I was like, man, how did this guy beat out Will Riker last year for the Lou Groza Award? But he hit 2 really good field goals against Missouri, and then Bray Hubbard, we spotlighted him. The defense played well. I loved my favorite part of the game, along with the Justice Haynes hit on that dude, was a 4th down stop with your second team or third team defense. That shows grit, and I get it. The guys were what I like to see in that back end. Number 1, Coach Kalen DeBoer getting on Rock Montgomery. I like that. The intensity. We're used to coaching. To us, coaching hard is another way to say I love you. Seriously, the love languages of Alabama football. I know this is funny, but this is absolutely true. The love languages are really good defense, really good run game. It's also getting fiery with the players, coaching the players hard. That's love to us, right? We're used to that. Anytime, you know what? If a coach isn't writing your you know what, you're probably not performing that well. But if he's able to ride you and get on you, that means he sees something in you. He knows something's inside your soul, right? And I liked he was going after Rock. I don't know what it was about, but I like that. Coach them hard. They're your kids, right? And I love that 4th down stop. That was dope. I love that. And I love the excitement from all the team, just being fired up. I don't think they're I just think it's they could feel the momentum. You saw a lot of team, brotherhood, cohesiveness when those guys are cheering up. I think they needed that. All right, here's a look at the AP Top 25. You got Alabama. They moved from 15 to 14. You got Oregon, who is undefeated at number 8. You got Georgia, who is open. They are number 2. You got Penn State. We're going to talk about some of these scenarios going forward. I'm excited to get your opinion on a couple different things. Penn State plays Ohio State here in a couple weeks. You have Ohio State 6-1, Miami 8-0, Texas after beating Vanderbilt in a close one, and then Tennessee, Notre Dame, BYU, Texas A&M, Clemson. We can look at the rankings all we want, but the thing that we have to understand is here in a couple weeks, I don't know when I don't think it might be this next week, but the college football playoff rankings come out. We won't even talk about the AP anymore. And so one of the things that I want to preference you, it's not the AP top 12, right? And just because Alabama's number 14 on the AP, it's the playoff committee that seeds the team. So remember, the top 4 conferences get a bye, and then the rest of the teams, it's back to the playoff committee. That's who decides which teams go where. So don't freak out and think it goes off the AP, because just because Alabama's 14 here, the playoff committee right now might have them as an 8 overall, right? So don't think they have to, hope for any of these teams to lose. Of course, it'll help, but that's how the playoffs work. And we'll talk about that more as we go forward. But here's just kind of the look. You have Colorado, who's number 23. I think they're the first time up in the 25, so I can't remember since when. Army's still in there. Navy drops out after losing to Notre Dame. What's up, Bamaretta? I appreciate you. Rankings don't matter. Yeah, it is a one-game mentality. Jason says, Kyle, that goal line stand, Womack had subbed in some, not all the starters pre the broadcast to try to let them steal the shutout. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, you got to go for the shutout. I think it was Alabama's first time they've had a shutout in quite some time. I love it. Good for the defense. At that point in time, too, I even saw, Drake Kirkpatrick got on the field, too, in the back end. Make you feel, you're getting a little wiser in your life when you start to see, Drake Kirkpatrick's son, Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. playing, right? All right. This is my top 10. I don't even remember doing this yesterday. So let's look. I do all my graphics for my Monday show on Sunday, kind of in the afternoon when I'm watching football. All right. So got Georgia as the number 1 team. They take on Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, UMass, and Georgia Tech. That's the remainder of their schedule. They have Ole Miss. That's an interesting game. Tennessee will be interesting. I just don't think Tennessee has the offense. Ole Miss does. Lane Kiffin, Kirby Smart, love it. That's popcorn for sure, right? Oregon, I I do have a little bit more respect for these guys at this point in the season. But I still a little sus on them. They beat Illinois, and then you have Michigan, Maryland, Wisconsin, Washington. I just don't see them slipping up, right? You have Ohio State beat Nebraska. That was an interesting game, too. It was close. Dylan Raiola went, yeah, they absolutely choked for sure. They have at Penn State, Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, Michigan, right? Texas, they beat Vandy. They got Florida, at Arkansas, Kentucky, A&M. I mean, I guess that Texas A&M game, that one's going to be like must-watch TV. Yo, Elko has that team absolutely rolling. Penn State beat Wisconsin, Ohio State, Washington, Purdue. God, they have a lot of football games left. All eyes clearly on that one against Ohio State. Clemson, I have Clemson climbing up. They're always a tough team for me to rank. Dabo Swinney has these guys playing at a really good level. I would imagine they beat Louisville, VTech. Pittsburgh will be challenging, right? Eli Holstein's been doing pretty good. And then Citadel, South Carolina. I could see them losing one of those games, but I could also see them beating Miami. I bet you if I polled you guys, you probably pick Clemson to beat Miami if they played like this coming week, right? Notre Dame, some of these teams, the thing about Notre Dame, why I have them over Texas A&M, because they beat Texas A&M head-to-head, right? That's certainly going to help them out. And then Tennessee, I don't really know where to rank those guys, but I know they beat Alabama, and, their defense is pretty good. So when you start to look to the SEC standings, it's been really fun to watch the SEC this year. Texas A&M 5-0 up at the top. Elko will probably win Coach of the Year, I would imagine, if he continues to roll out, right? You have Georgia up at the top. LSU now 3-1 after losing to Texas A&M. Tennessee 3-1 in conference play. Texas 3-1 in conference play. Alabama 3-2. Arkansas 3-2. Florida 2-2. Ole Miss 2-2. Missouri 2-2. Vanderbilt 2-2. Auburn got their first victory. Mississippi State still looking for theirs. Oklahoma, they've been a disappointment. I think that's been a real eye-opener, like them coming to the SEC. Texas was ready. Oklahoma wasn't. Oklahoma probably still wishing they were in the Big 12, right? That's the thing. You come over here, look at all these coaches. Pick a coach on here. Elite coaching. Absolutely elite. An elite talent. Every single game, I get it. Missouri was pretty banged up, but, Missouri beat Vanderbilt. Before Missouri was injured, that was a good team. Their coach, you saw how fired he was. I didn't get, why was Eli Drinkwitz, why was he yelling at Jahad Campbell? Did you see this? I never really, I saw a social media post come up, but there was no context. It looked like Eli Drinkwitz was yelling profanities at Jahad Campbell. Did you see this? I saw it, but I didn't really understand what they were saying. I think the text that I read, and I don't know if this is true, but it said that Eli Drinkwitz was telling Jahad Campbell, it wouldn't be this way if I had my quarterback. I don't know. Fake stuff is all over, but it came across my feed. I'm sure some of you saw it too. He seemed pretty pissed off. That game, Alabama-Missouri, had the weirdest penalties. Penalties I didn't even understand. I had to rewatch and kind of zoom in. There were some really weird penalties. Michael Curtis is saying he told Campbell, yeah, if I had my quarterback, it would be different. Okay, both were joking. Yeah, it was weird. Yeah. So this is how we look in SEC play. We could get lost in the scenarios right now. Alabama just has to keep winning. I think their chances of making the SEC championship game pretty slim. It's not completely over for Alabama not to make the championship game, but a lot of stuff has to happen to where it would make your head hurt if we tried to explain it. So just keep winning, and let's see what happens. But right now, let's credit Texas A&M for putting together a pretty good, solid season, because I didn't really expect them to be 5-0 and 7-1 on the season. It's pretty good job in the first year of a head football coach. Here's the SEC football at a glance when you start to look at some of the top teams and the remaining games that they play. You got A&M, who's 5-0. They play South Carolina. And the percentages are off ESPN. If you click ESPN, it'll just tell you the percentages on who's supposed to win these remaining games. So, for example, Texas A&M, 71% favorite to beat South Carolina, 65% chance to beat Auburn, and only a 24% chance to beat Texas, which would put their record, if they lost to Texas, at 7-1. Georgia, Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, they would finish out 7-1 in conference play. Texas, if they win the remaining games, they would be 7-1. And in this particular case, if Texas and Georgia win out, then they would play for the SEC title game because they would both be 7-1. And in this scenario, Texas would have beat Texas A&M, right? So it would be head-to-head. Now, it gets pretty interesting if some of these teams drop games because of the fact that Alabama beat Georgia and Georgia beat Texas. So there is a scenario where they explain kind of who makes the championship. If who beats who, you can look it up. It's confusing. There's even a scenario where if they don't have a common opponent, that the SEC will pick the teams from a random draw. So, like I said, I think Alabama's chances of making the championship, they're pretty slim, but they're not over. Like, they're not completely out. Weird things can happen. Some of these teams drop 2 games. That win against, Georgia comes in really, really handy. So I guess we'll just have to see. I tried to think of the scenarios, and it was just like it was too much for me. So if you go to ESPN, you can click, just type this in your free time. Type in ESPN Playoff Predictor, and this is what comes up with. So these are some screenshots from ESPN, and I like this. This is one of my favorite things to say is playoffs. Remember, I like to say this every single week, and I probably will keep doing it because it makes me laugh. So Alabama currently, I think, let's see. They have a 53% chance, according to this playoff predictor poll, to make the playoffs. And just like I said earlier, you don't really have to look at the AP. Don't let the AP poll get you really excited because the playoff committee might have Alabama at 8, or they might have them at 7 hosting a playoff game right now. And the AP poll is they don't have nothing to do with the college football playoffs. It's just something for us to look at. But when the committee gets together, that's when it gets really interesting. So right now, 53% chance for Alabama to make the playoffs, 68% chance to beat LSU. It would have been better if LSU would have beat Texas A&M because LSU would have been like a top 6 team or something like that. It still will be a good win if Alabama is able to beat LSU on the road. That will travel. If Alabama is able to beat Oklahoma, same thing, because you're winning games in the SEC at the back end of the season. How do you play? This Auburn game scares the daylights out of me just because Hugh Freeze, the Iron Bowl, I just don't trust it. It's scary. There's a lot of things that are just scary about this. But if they were to win out all these games and not make the conference championship, that's what I punched in. They have a 97% chance to make the playoffs, according to this playoff predictor. To host a game as like a 5, 6, 7, or 8 seed, they are a 60% chance. To be a first-round visitor, they would 37% chance. So just win. I mean, somebody said it inside the comment box. Just win, right? Just win. All right. So off the playoff predictor, I didn't come up with these rankings. The playoff predictor did. So I went off the player predictor. In fact, it should say number 12, Tennessee at the top. But these are the 4 teams that got the playoffs in this playoff predictor that I was running with yesterday. So, for example, the team that won the Big Ten was Oregon. The team that won the SEC was Texas. The team that won the Big 12 was BYU, and the team that won ACC was Miami in this scenario. There's a ton of scenarios that could happen, right? But in this playoff predictor, just for what it is, this is what it came out with. The red teams indicate teams from the SEC. So up at the top, it would have number 5, Georgia, play number 12, Tennessee. That game would be in Athens. Number 8, Alabama would be hosting Boise. Number 11, A&M would be on the road taking on Penn State, and Notre Dame would be taking on Indiana. That would be pretty cool, right? The battle for Indiana. So there's a lot of really cool. You know what? That Boise-Bama game will be really fun. That running back's a monster. He would freak me out. That would be scary. Eric D, I'm with you. I don't think Miami wins the ACC either. But don't tell Miami fans that. Miami plays Syracuse on the back end. I get it. Syracuse's quarterback. I like the kid. He was having a good season until he threw 5 interceptions against Pitt? That was crazy. What I did here, this is one of my favorite graphics. So I started looking at which undefeated team. I didn't list Oregon and I didn't list Penn State. But I started to look at some of these teams and which teams is likely to lose kind of on the back end stretch. So I listed Miami, BYU, Iowa State, and Indiana. All right. So let's start with Miami on the left. Okay. So we got Miami, and as you know, some of their games have been really tight. I mean, they beat up on South Florida, but ever since that, their games have been tight. Besides this Florida State game recently, Florida State's just, completely. Did I misspell? Thanks, Ron. I'll fix it. Yeah, I do all the graphic work myself, man. So I'm accountable for that. I'll fix Boise. I guess that was a tough one for me. But when you look to Miami, you got Duke. That could be interesting. Georgia Tech, interesting. Wake Forest, they'll win. And then at Syracuse, depending on the play of Kyle McFord, that game's interesting. I like Syracuse. That's an interesting one. BYU. Does anyone see Miami dropping any of these games? Yes or no? Let's start with Miami first. Who's likely to beat Miami here? Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, or Syracuse? What do you guys think? What's up, Nicole? I like the emoji use of Jarvis. What's up, man? See you up in the house. what's going on, man? Harrison Luck, what's up? I appreciate you. Eric is saying Miami will lose to somebody, but who beats Miami? Duke? So you guys are saying Duke or Georgia Tech? Okay. Jarvis is saying nobody. Right? I mean, the thing about Cam Ward is his late game ability is elite. The guys come with it in the back end of games. He's a great quarterback. Okay, let's go to BYU. All right, so we got Utah. I mean, Cam Rising's not playing. You got Kansas at Arizona State and Houston. But remember, if BYU wins out and Iowa State wins out, they have to play each other. Does anybody think BYU loses any of these games? I don't, I guess. So BYU, I think, is going to go undefeated up until that championship game. Iowa State, let's see. They play Texas Tech, Kansas, Cincinnati, Utah, and Kansas State. I think Kansas State will beat Iowa State, right? So far, that's the one that I feel the most confident about. But man, a lot of these teams should win out. Okay. And let's do – okay, there we go. Here, Indiana's going to lose. Indiana won't lose to Michigan State, but they probably lose to Michigan or Ohio State. Right? So Indiana probably loses 2 games. Syracuse, Miami, I would say I don't know. I don't know if Miami, BYU, or Iowa State loses. Iowa State probably lose a game, and Indiana loses 2. Indiana's going to absolutely lose to Ohio State, and I think they'll lose to Michigan too. I don't know. Fun graphic to play with. Remember, I didn't add. Oregon's also undefeated, and so is Penn State. Just fun to look at. I love comparisons. Jordan says Kansas State is a sleeper. Yeah, I think so too. I think if the game was in Manhattan, Kansas, I'd take Kansas State, but the game's up in Ames, Iowa. Who's lived in Iowa? Raise your hand. I've lived in Iowa. When I lived in Iowa, I lived in Pella. Anybody know where this is? South of Des Moines. Went to Central College. It was so cold because it's located by Lake Red Rock. Now, it's a beautiful little city. It's modeled after like a Dutch community. So you have like windmills. There's like places where people make like cobbler shoes. I'm serious. And they have the Tulip Festival there. It is the most beautiful tulips in the entire world that you could ever see is in Pella, Iowa. Look it up. Yeah, south of Des Moines. Yep. That's where you fly into. So you fly into Des Moines, and then, I don't know, maybe like 30 minutes to Pella. So, yeah. KTK, you know what's up, man. Pella windows. That's what they're known for. They have a big factory that make high quality. Like, you have Pella windows in your house, that's what's up. Pella windows is high quality. All right, we take a little look at Alabama and LSU coming up on November 9th. I think it's a pick'em. Jarvis, am I right? It's like 1.5 right now, LSU. Jalen Milroe, 1,900 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Jam Miller, 74 carries, 460 yards, 7 touchdowns. Ryan Williams, 35 for 702. Monster numbers, right? And Kalen DeBoer, you know, I found this. I had to add it. 0-2 on the road in SEC play. Going to Death Valley is no easy trip, right? He's 0-2 in the state of Tennessee. That's the thing, is like, well, clearly he's the right guy for the job. It takes some time to get accustomed to this new world of college football and the level of SEC play. The SEC play is crazy good. This is the Premier League. We're in the Premier League. LSU, Grant Nismeyer, 2,200 yards. Whoa, it looks like I have him for almost like 22,000 yards. I need to fix that. 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Durham, 397 yards. Lacey, 41 for 618. Brian Kelly is 15-5 in SEC play since 2022. You know, Aaron Anderson, yo, he looks good. He looks like he's put on some weight. He's fast. Threw a touchdown to him. He's kind of one of those ones that you think got away in the transfer portal, but things are working out for him. Coach Saban talked to him. He's a Louisiana guy. Seems like the offense fits him. Tough one to lose. That guy is a future NFL guy for sure. Really, really talented. This ESPN rat poison, I like to call this the rat poison indicator. 68% chance to win. I've been to Baton Rouge twice for games. It is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And one of the times that I went, I think they were both ranked in the top 10. Bam was probably ranked number 1 or something like that. I'm not going to lie. Like, the party was so thick. The tailgate was so fire. I never seen, in Tuscaloosa, tailgate's hard. Yo, that tailgate, it went so far that I was trying to take an Uber to get there, and I just literally had to get out of the car and walk, like, past the tailgate to the stadium. And then when you go to the stadium's huge. You know, it's open on that backside, but the press box, I would imagine from what I heard, Texas A&M has the nicest press box, and then LSU's number 2. LSU is really, really nice. Kevin Lynch, what's up, man? Appreciate your continued support of the channel, bro. Thanks for becoming a fan funder. Thank you. And they have, like, you know, the food. Who doesn't like food from Louisiana? Like, come on, the food is good. And, you know, the corn dog, you know, the whole deal, I get it. But the food is good. I love the charbroiled oysters. I'm not going to lie. When we look to, and I love, you know what, and I've said this a million times, I love New Orleans. I like it. It's gotten more dangerous by the year. Like, when were we there the last time? You know, whenever they played Kansas State, was it? Neil doesn't like the food. Mud bugs, yeah. Man, you got to be careful down there. But I like it. I like the nightlife. I like the jazz. I like to smoke a cigar and just kind of cruise down Bourbon Street and just kind of enjoy it. It's crazy. Here's the last 5 for the teams. Alabama coming off a 34-0 victory over Missouri. Before that, lost to Tennessee on the road. Beat South Carolina, lost to Vandy on the road, and beat Georgia at home. Last 5 for LSU looks like this. Lost to Texas A&M in the college football game of the week, 38-23. Beat up on Arkansas. Beat Ole Miss in overtime. South Alabama 42-10, and then beat UCLA 34-17. All right. That's the last 5 for each team. Let's see what else I have here. Here's a remaining schedule for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We know this. You got Missouri. You just beat up on 34-0. At LSU, at Oklahoma. You know, Oklahoma's trending on the downward, but I wouldn't take any of these games lightly. Like, I think for Coach Kalen DeBoer, it'll be a great coaching point for him to be able to instill in this team kind of that underdog mentality. And I get it. There's a lot of excitement about this team. You got some high-performing players, future NFL players, a ton of them. But can you create this mindset to be the underdog? And that's a challenge for coaches, right? I think Coach Saban did a pretty good job at that. I mean, not to say that they were really underdogs, but right now, Kirby Smart does that with his team. And it takes time, right? And sometimes it takes a loss or two, because then you can start be like, hey, look, nobody believes in us. But they're going to be favorites against Mercer, Oklahoma, and against Auburn. But the way that you look at this and the way that you coach this team is you're the underdog. Like, your season hangs in the balance of every single game that you play. Every single quarter from here on out determines how far you want to go in this season. So if you can do that from a coaching standpoint and get these guys to buy into that underdog mindset, maybe this was a turning point. And I fully understand Missouri wasn't at health and all that stuff, but still, like, this could be a time where you go into the season, you get healthy, and you come out with that mindset and be like, yo, we're here. And our mission is to dominate. And our mission is to win every single game, whether we make the championship, the SEC championship or not. Like, this underdog mentality, this is what we're riding on, and this is what we're going to take the rest of the season. And that's it. Take no prisoners. And I told you, there's a lot of programs out there right now that are losing top-tier recruits. And that's a sign of when things are really going bad at a program. I haven't seen that at all with Alabama. Their stability and their brand is still so high. Despite, them being punched in the chin twice, they've gotten back up. So can you respond on the road and win your first SEC road game in probably the most challenging environment that you're going to play in? Another opportunity, right, for this team. And if you can run the ball, and if you can get some defensive plays and, maybe a little bit of luck, play well on special teams, I think you start to earn your way back into the playoffs, because nothing is given to you. Nothing. We always talk about that, right? Nothing is given to you in this life. There's no entitlement, and that you just don't jump into the playoffs because you're Alabama. That doesn't exist. There's a lot of teams that are probably qualified to make the playoffs this year. We looked at several of them. A lot of these teams have won the games that are on their schedule. Does that mean their schedules are harder than Alabama? Not necessarily, but they've won, right? So LSU is going to be absolutely challenging. We're going to open up the phone lines and play a little Monday Morning Quarterback in just a few minutes. So I'll fire up the call line in just a second. I wanted to run through a couple stats and kind of update you on today's show going forward. So let me run through a couple stats real quick, and then I'll take your guys' calls. So today, because it's an open week, Coach Kalen DeBoer will not be coming to the podium or the assistant coaches today. You'll hear from them on the back end. Coach Kalen DeBoer today is at the Birmingham Quarterback Club, so you'll be able to catch that probably around 12. I don't think it's being live streamed, but there's probably a bunch of sites that are uploading it. I will not be going to Birmingham for that. But if there's any big hitting pieces of news, we'll comment on that. But that's kind of what to watch. The coaches, they didn't have practice yesterday, of course. They don't have practice today. They don't have practice tomorrow. They will pick up on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, going into this bye week. So you'll have coverage throughout the week. And, of course, I will keep you posted on kind of my travel itinerary should I go back to New Mexico. So I will keep you posted on that. Let's look at the stats real quick before I take some calls. Jalen Milroe right now, 1,900 yards passing, 13 passing touchdowns, 380 net rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, a Pro Football Focus grade of 80.4. Now, if for example, on Ty Simpson, since he hasn't played in over 100 snaps, I don't like to look at the grade because the more plays that you play in, the better your grade. So right now, let's just look at the stats for Ty. He has 96 passing yards. He didn't throw the football against Missouri. He has 29 rushing yards on the season. So he's played in, I think, 4 games this year. And Dylan Lonergan, we saw him in 13 snaps. Still no stats for Austin Mack. Here's a look at Jalen Milroe in his Pro Football Focus grades through 8 games of the season. As you can see, it's 82.5 against Western Kentucky. And then the grades that I really look at are the grades in the SEC. So 86.3 against Georgia, 90.3 against Vanderbilt. Those games were remarkable. It was, and it's kind of been tough sledding for him throughout these last 3 games, although his grade against Missouri was 79.7. Yeah, and you guys are right. Alabama basketball does play tonight in an exhibition match against Memphis. Alabama running back room, there's a lot of detail here, so I'll start on the left. You have, I would imagine the quarterbacks to transfer. I would imagine Dylan Lonergan, right? I mean, he's got to be the odds-on favorite to leave. And you look to where other quarterbacks have landed on their feet, right? I mean, you look what Eli Holsting's doing, but I mean, with Ty Simpson coming in, Austin Mack, I don't think there's a huge difference between Dylan Lonergan and Austin Mack. And then you have Keelan Russell coming in. Yeah, you got to definitely get a quarterback to transfer. So that's the name of the game. Dylan Lonergan, I mean, he looks good to me too. Jam Miller, 74 attempts, 454 yards, 7 touchdowns on the season. As I mentioned earlier in the show, 6.1 average per carry. Long of 56. He's played in 230 snaps, and he has a grade of 76.2. Now, anything in the 70s with the grades are absolutely fantastic. One thing, when you look to Richard Young there at the bottom, he's only played in 20 snaps this year. Only 20 snaps, which is less than Daniel Hill, who's played in 28 snaps. Interesting, right? So Richard Young, he's got to be hungry for the football, 1,000,000%. Justice Haynes, 55 carries for 350 yards, 5 touchdowns, but only 43.8 yards per game. See, this number, I think in the back end, and this is just my opinion, the numbers right here between this per game for Jam and Justice, if this increases to 80 for Jam, and maybe the same for Justice or whatever, I think you win more football games. I think you win the rest of the way, honestly, at least through the regular SEC. Here's a look at the Alabama tight end room. C.J. Dupree does catch passes, 14 for 168, 169. And Robbie Oots has 4 for 24. Josh Cuevas, been pretty quiet for the most part for him these last couple games, but he does have 8 for 96. He's a transfer from Washington. Here's a look to the Alabama wide receiver room. You look at the targets between Ryan Williams and everybody else. 59 targets. What does he have in the last 2 games? 30? Is it 30 targets? I think Ryan Williams has 30 targets in the last 2 games. Jeremy Bernard has 43 targets. But other than that, I mean, that's number 1 and number 2. Kobe Prentice has been targeted 13 times. Kendrick Law has 8 receptions for 95 yards. Emmanuel Henderson, 4 receptions. A lot of these are low. Caleb Odom has 5 for 45, and I think most of those have come from Ty Simpson. And then Cole Adams, still no injury update. I would imagine we get one from Coach Kalen DeBoer regarding Cole Adams. That guy's battled this year. It looked like a lower leg. He has that robotic arm on. What a gritty dude. Yeah, that guy's tough, man. Came back with that arm injury. He has that huge arm brace or whatever that is. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back with a leg brace. Man, that's that mentality. Alabama offensive line. So what I did is we list the pass blocking grade. So the only thing that's listed at the bottom, so you look at the snaps and the pass blocking grade. So Caden Proctor, who allowed a sack last game, still has a grade of 84.5. Tyler Booker, 82.8. I guess I should add the run blocking grade too. I'll do that for the next show. Jaden Roberts, it looks like Jaden Roberts is injured, or it looks like he's at 70%, maybe 60%. That guy is battling too. I thought he was hurt on one play against Missouri. I saw him running off. It looked like he was hurt to me on the TV broadcast. The right side is just the problem. You cannot, look at the right side. Jaden Roberts, 59.8, and Elijah Pritchett, 47.9. That's not good for anybody. And this is pass blocking. I don't have run blocking grades today. Yeah, but this right side, what are you going to do? Swap in Wilcom Formby? That guy, he's not ready yet either. Man, if anything stops this team going forward, it would be the right side. Then for this Alabama defensive line, look at the snaps and kind of the tackles. Tim Keenan has 28. Tim Smith has 23. Put a big transfer stamp on Jaheim Otis. That's what we'll do kind of going forward for the players that transfer out. James Smith, he's a baller. He has a lot of snaps too, 191 snaps this year. Damon Payne, I didn't realize Damon Payne has 197 snaps. Wow. That's a lot of snaps for those two. James Smith is it. And I think that those guys clearly surpassed Jaheim Otis. Right? I really do. I think that was it. Unfortunately, Jaheim Otis was just never able to get back on track following his kind of weight transformation, his injury, and he just got beat out, right? Here's the bandit position. Nice little ghost emoji. To me it seems like, and this is just me talking, I have no knowledge of this. I have not talked to anybody about this. It seems like the experiment to move from, I guess, the wolf position to bandit, maybe it didn't work. I don't know. Like, your guess is as good as mine. I'm sure, on your recruiting websites, there might be a rumor to why, Keon Keeley isn't playing. I don't know what it is. But only 3 snaps this year for Keon Keeley. Jameer Latham, 24 tackles this season. I thought he's played well, to be honest. I see his grade, 67.2. Not too worried about that. I think he's been pretty good. But this guy, LT Overton in this last game, that needs to be updated on the bottom. LT Overton leads with 24 tackles. LT Overton played, damn. He played like a motor, right? He had a motor on his, that guy was, LT Overton was, and that was the other thing, was that penalty. It was the delay game where he didn't hear, and he came and just smashed him. LT Overton's had 2 monster hits. He hit the quarterback for Wisconsin, and then this guy, the backup quarterback, or was Brady Cook in there? I think Cook was still in. That was a crazy play. That was a weird sequence of events. LT Overton's been great. He's been a wonderful addition. He played, and he's been playing really steady this year, but I felt this last game, him and Jahad Campbell had a lot of energy. I don't know, that was something that stood out to me. Here's the wolf position for Alabama. Q Rob. And like I said, there's a lot of depth here, right? 21 tackles, 4 sacks. I would have imagined there would have been a little bit more sacks from this area. Yeah, you guys are bringing up that you didn't hear no whistle. I guess, yeah, that's it, right? You don't hear a whistle, 100%. Q-Rob's been good. He's had a really good season. Quay had an interception this last game. Super athletic at what is he, 260? It always blows my mind how athletic these guys are. You get over 220 and you're that athletic, God has just blessed you. Saw a little bit of Keanu Coat in this last game too. And then Yanze, he's come in. He has 43 snaps on the year. A little bit low, but we have seen him from time to time. Here's the Alabama inside back room. I'll take your calls in just a few minutes. Let me just wrap up this. Deontay Lawson, 66 tackles. Jahad Campbell, 66 tackles. I like that. I like that the inside linebackers are leading in tackles this season. 2 sacks by each of them. Jahad Campbell had with another sack this last game against Missouri. Justin Jefferson, saw him in. Justin Okoronkwo, I think he had 5 tackles against Missouri. He's a little tackle machine. Alabama corners. So what I did on the stat detail, I had T just list the targets and the receptions. I think that gives us a better detail of how these guys are doing. So Damani Jackson, he's been targeted 30 times, 13 receptions. Xavier Brown, clearly he's been challenged. Saw a little bit of Deshaun Jones in there, and then Jalen Ibakwe, the true fresh, right? Targeted 12 times and allowed 8. Here's a safety. Rowoy, what's up, man? I appreciate the super chat. Justice Saints had the hit of the week. Poor kid is still laying on his back. You know what was crazy about that hit, and thank you so much for the super chat. Somebody said inside the comment box that they were at the game at Bryant-Denny Stadium and that they heard the hit in the second deck of the stadium, which is crazy. If you've ever been up there, to be able to hear that hit way up there, if anybody else was at the game, Coach Kalen DeBoer, I thought he used the perfect adjective. He said thunderous, right? So you have Bray Hubbard come in. Yes, oh, there you go, 27 tackles. I knew it was something like that. Malachi Moore been targeted. And you see Bray's been targeted 11 times, allowed 7. But, you know, look at Keon Sabb. Teams were starting to really target Keon Sabb, whether you like it or not. Like, the detail is there. And how interesting is this? So Keon Sabb in his first game gets 2 interceptions, and Bray Hubbard steps in his first time as a starter and gets an interception. And I don't know. I still feel like Devontae Smith has been playing pretty well, but this Husky position, sometimes it makes me a little bit nervous. I mean, the whole secondary, and I think the secondary, that's an area of concern for me. But they did what they were supposed to do in this last game. So Graham Nicholson, 4 of 6 on the season, longest of 47. James Burnup, one of the best players on the team, has 1,700 yards punting. His longest is 46. Man, this kid he's really, really good. Neelan Hibbett, really good. He just got put on a scholarship, and then Kendrick Law, I guess he's the leading team in terms of returners. They've had a couple of returners. Emmanuel Henderson has some returns too. And then Cole Adams, punt return. I need to update this because I think the leading punt returner is probably Ryan Williams. So I'll update that graphic as well. So that's kind of where we're at. But I appreciate you guys being here. I always love to go through like the stat detail. I think it tells a story. I put together all that work. T helps out in terms of the Sunday detail too. So I appreciate her helping out. So Kyle Anderson, Bama Football on YouTube. If you want to play a little bit of a Monday quarterback, I'll take some calls. Remember today, no Kalen DeBoer in the assistant coaches. Coach Kalen DeBoer is in Birmingham. I think he's like at the podium at like 12 or something like that. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of sites that upload Coach Kalen DeBoer. And then the next time that we hear from the coaches or the players, I think is on Wednesday. So they don't have practice today or tomorrow following their win over Missouri. So call line is open, 205-850-1994. When you call in, keep a mindset that somebody's probably trying to call in behind you. I will politely ask you to kind of move forward, but call in, like come as you are, open mic. So whatever you want to hit on, from that last game or, something that's on your mind, come with it. I appreciate it. And we'll start the calls right now. So 813, you're up first, and I appreciate you being patient. Hey, who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Hey, what's up, Kyle? It's Case from Tampa.
Case, what's up, man? I appreciate you. I hope you're off to a really good start today on this Monday, October 28th, man. Case, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on, guys? No, I'm happy with the win, man. I'm very happy with the shutout. Who would have thought when you put more than 3 people on the defensive front, you can stop a run? It's crazy. I don't know what clicked in Kane Womack's mind, but stop putting just 3 on the front and we stopped the run. But, I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see us actually running the ball successful. Some of the younger guys got in there, like Richard Young, too, got some good run plays. I really don't know what's going on with Milroe with some of these, medium passes. Like he's just last couple games, he's missed like Ryan Williams wide open. I mean, just wide open. Like I said, I'm never going to be the person to say put Milroe out because he's our guy and I'm rolling with him. But I don't know, maybe there's something that I'm missing, But I feel like he's really just got to get through his progressions a little bit better because, like you said, Ryan Williams has been targeted, 30 times in the last 2 games? I mean, I feel like we got to be better at distributing the ball to different people early on the game, not just keep counting on the same person over and over again. But a very satisfying win. People are going to try to count the game. They're going to count it as less because Brady Cook wasn't in, but I mean, hey, that didn't stop our run game. Their defense was still in the game. So but yeah, judge naysayers. That's all it is. It's going to be naysayers,
I think when you look to Alabama's offense too, on the line with Case calling in from Tampa, I think when you look to the offense against Missouri, you started to see a little bit of a blossoming of using some different components, because I did see them utilize Kendrick Law, or at least try to implement him. They tried to go to Kobe Prentice. They tried to go to a couple different guys. Now, one thing or another, I think a ball hit Kobe, one was overthrown, things like that. But maybe you're starting to see a little bit of, circulating the ball. But, man, it's really hard to go away from a player like Ryan Williams, for example. And you know this too, Case. But that one play, it was kind of like a bubble screen to the outside. And you just get it, and you just see the kind of that acceleration that he had. What did he run, like 7 yards? But you know what I'm saying? Like he just absolutely has it.
I tell you who just fight for yards. It's C.J. Dupree, man. I'm so happy a lot of these tight ends are getting more play because that tight ends were used a lot less in the older offenses in Alabama, especially the last couple of offenses that we've had. But this offensive style that we have under DeBoer, he uses tight ends, and so we get to see this play. And C.J. Dupree and even Robbie Oots, I mean, they just absolutely fight for yards. They're dogs. And my heart goes out for Cole Adams too, because I tell you what, he is shifty as a punt returner, and he's a good receiver too. I mean, he's caught for he has 6 receptions for 90 yards. Mm-hmm. He's a good receiver too, man. Mm-hmm. So my heart goes out to him, man, and Keon Sabb, because we do have some guys on this team that are young and could come back, and they fight through injuries, man, and you don't really see that a lot. So I'm excited. Like I said, I'm going to be excited no matter what. I really think it's like you said with the AP and the college football ranking, it's a completely different thing. So you got 1-0 mentality. Beat everybody on the list, make it to the playoffs. And we may not make it to the SEC championship, but who cares? If we can make it to the top 10 and get in that home seed, or if we can get a home game playoff, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see that. A playoff game at Bryant-Denny against Boise State. Oh, man. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, Case. Thanks for calling in, man.
Appreciate it, Kyle. Take care, brother. Roll Tide.
Yeah, you too, man. Good points there. Yesterday was National Tight Ends Day. And did you see all the tight ends catching passes in the NFL, right? Every single team was using their tight ends, just like Case was talking about. And I think, C.J. Dupree, they've gone to him several times. But, man, Kittle last night was absolutely on fire for my 49ers. If the Dallas Cowboys were ever going to beat the Niners, that was the game. The Niners, every single guy is injured on that team. It is so frustrating. 910, you're up next. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, this is Christian from California, man.
Christian, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here.
Oh, yeah, man, I appreciate you for having the show, man. I got to go and catch it. But, yeah, man, I just watching that game on Saturday, I didn't really know what to expect, coming off loss from Tennessee and just things of that sort, just listening to all the propaganda that, everybody was saying when they were talking about Alabama and their decline and things like that. But I really do think that we came at this game with a little bit more of urgency, especially on the defensive side, just seeing them come with a little bit more pressure than what they've normally been doing. Just like the last caller before, when you send more than 3 people, you see what happens, regardless if their offense was banged up or not, it's very effective. So just seeing stuff like that on the defense, that we're now sending more blitzes, and you can actually start to see some of those freshmen start to kind of pick their game up a little bit. I know Jalen Mbakwe got a little banged up, but Xavier Brown was back, and he held his own and things of that sort. But we're kind of running a little bit more man coverage and sending more people so we can get to the quarterback a little bit better, because we weren't doing a good job doing that at the beginning of the season. So you can kind of see the difference between that and then the negative plays we create on first and second down, which kind of eliminated a little bit more of Missouri's offense when they were already, kind of limited with what they had. So it kind of makes the play calling a little bit easier for the defense when you got them in third and long instead of third and short, So just watching that on the defensive side and watching how they mature there, it looked pretty good. And then finally we were able to get the run game going.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, I didn't go back and watch the game. I'm sorry, I'm not really giving you enough time to kind of talk. But
you're fine. No.
I went back and watched. I didn't get a chance to go back and watch the game, but I think we took Pritchett out, and I don't know who we put in there on that right side, but we started running that ball on that right side. And it looked good. It looked good.
I guess I didn't notice that either. Is there someone inside the comment box that can comment on what Christian just said in terms of the right tackle? Did Alabama – and I'll look at the Pro Football Focus grades too to see if anybody was swapped in on that right tackle position. But, I mean, you know what? I love the running game too. And I'm not just saying this because everybody's like, run the ball. It's just like, man, I feel like these guys have really been underutilized this year. And it was kind of like almost a release – especially for like Justice Haynes, because Jam Miller, we know what he's capable of. He's running back number one, but people were starting to question Justice Haynes. I think I was even kind of starting to question. I was like, it was kind of getting to my head. I was like, maybe they're right. Maybe he isn't as physical. And then when he laid that dude down, I was like, oh man, that looked like Emmitt Smith or something. I was like, dang, I couldn't seriously. I can't. I watched it like a bunch of times, that run. I honestly didn't know that he had that in him too. So that was crazy.
Man, I'll tell you, and I was a naysayer of Justice Haynes because I was high on him as a freshman last year, especially in that championship game against Michigan. I think when he started getting a little bit more carries, I was like, hey, he needs to be getting the ball more. And then this year, he kind of had to get back into a new offense, and I think I was being a little more critical just because of the flashes that I seen from last year. But I tweeted during like the second quarter, I was like, somebody please tell the coaching staff stop giving Justice Haynes the ball, please. And then he hits that run. I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and delete that tweet. So he. If he can run like that, Alabama will be okay. And Jam Miller come from behind with some more power. I think that's a good 1-2 combination if they run angry like that consistently.
Yep.
So that's really all I had to say about just Alabama and what I seen and stuff like that.
Gotcha,
the shutout was obviously good.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I want to see us keep winning. Try to make this college football playoffs. That's the only way I'll be satisfied if we do that, and win that home game if we get a home game, and then from there, championship or bust. So
all right, man, appreciate you, Christian. Thank you very much for calling in, man. Take it easy.
All right, Kyle.
Christian calling in from California. Yeah, and I like the points that Christian hit on, talking about whether it's, Alabama's ability to bring a little bit of pressure. We saw that from Jahad Campbell, talked about the run game, and talked about some of these freshmen that are starting to develop. I mean, you get to the back end of the season, are they even freshmen anymore? Now that they played over 200 plays or whatever. In the secondary, despite the concerns this year, imagine next year. Those guys would be like 300 plays that they've been able to see action in. I would imagine next year they go from, a secondary that definitely vulnerable to deep passes to probably one of the most elite secondaries in the country, just because these guys got to grow up. And it's going to be like that for the next several years because those guys can't leave, until after their junior year. We go back to the phone lines, and it is a 931. Hey, good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Good morning, Kyle. It's Brian Mickey from Florida.
Brian?
We just moved here not too over.
Yeah, Brian, what's up, man? Were you guys impacted by the storms at all?
No, sir. We live up in Eustis. towards upper central Florida, so we didn't really get affected by too much of it.
All right. Well,
just the winds knocks a few trees down or whatnot.
Cool. Well, glad you guys are safe. Welcome on in the show, and yeah, take it away, man. Welcome on in, Brian.
Hi. I'm just kind of a little irritated with a lot of our fans and a lot of people out here that keep trying to discredit Missouri. I mean, yeah, think about they did have some weak links in their system, but I mean, I think Nick Saban would be rolling in his grave if he ever heard or could imagine hearing someone saying to not give credit to a team that's not as good as him, considering how he felt about FCS teams across the board. You know, I mean, look at Louisiana Monroe 2 years ago when his first tenure and he lost. I mean, they ran through him like he said, shit in a brown paper bag. You know, he couldn't stop it. But I think one of the bigger problems that Kalen DeBoer is facing right now is he's not got that same fire that Nick Saban has. He doesn't. I don't think when they go in halftime, you know, used to a couple of years back, Nick Saban take his team into halftime and they'd come out and look like a totally different team. Blow teams out of the water. No one wants to play them. No one wants to line up on the ball. Everybody's calling out, playing hurt. And now you got teams that come back in the second half. We're up 21-0 and come back and almost beat us, like in the Georgia game. And then, like, you know, like with Tennessee, had them at 7. I mean, went a whole half, kept them to 0, and then you come back and got a whole new ball game. I think one of the bigger things that we're doing right now is just we're not getting the ball out as much like we used to. Think back, you look at Tua and Jalen and Mac Jones and all them. They threw the ball short. They threw a lot of slant routes, crossing routes, open under routes. You know, things that would throw your DBs and your safeties back and make them drop one in to keep on the flats, and then bam, hit them over the top for a long ball. We're really missing the small details, and I've been watching football my whole life, man. I'm 21 years old, and my whole life, me and my dad watch Alabama football. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of transgressions and a lot of things in my time with Nick Saban and now with Kalen DeBoer that it irritates me that he's that close every time. You know, like he's just increments away from changing the whole trajectory of a season, and he's right here, right now. He's got a chance to do it in 2 weeks against LSU. What he's got to bring to this game and what he has to do the entire game is change the direction of the ball. Stop going deep, then run the ball. I mean, you missed on 2 plays. You first, second down, you throw the ball, and then you go in third down, third and long, and then you run the ball, or you have to rely on a short pass. I mean, you're not going to win games that way. I think controlling the line of scrimmage, but also controlling the short game, short passing game, crossing routes, I think that changes Alabama's trajectory from here on out. I think they win out. I think they win big against LSU. I think Brian Kelly is going to try and contain Milroe too much, put too much focus on Milroe just because of what he has been able to do with his legs. And he did it last year the same way. They tried to control Milroe, and he hurt him over the top, you know, short routes. I think that's going to be the big factor in the game is how often does Alabama utilize the halfback screen, you know, tight end screens, receiver screens. I think he's going to really try to focus on spreading the ball over the top of the center of the field, you know, close, short route, medium range, intermediate passing, get the defense on its heels, really get them, try not to let them expect too much because you can't argue with me and say that every team that we play right now isn't expecting a deep ball or a big play from Alabama or from Jalen Milroe because, I mean, look at the safeties the last few times we played like a good defense, like with Tennessee and then with Vanderbilt. They walk their safeties up. They ain't worried about it. Everybody's too focused on that read option game and that triple option. Like no one really thinks that, hey, if we tried a little bit like a different offensive approach, keep the ball short, try not to spread the ball out deep, try to keep it in lines. You know, short game wins long games every day, every day. And I honestly, I want everybody to go into. I don't know if you have college football 25 or not. Go in, use the short passing game. Don't use Alabama's offense, the widespread offense, or whatever you want to call it. Just run the short game. Run the short game, man. Like sometimes you got to play old school. Sometimes it's new school.
Yeah, I absolutely love those crossing routes, and I think you bring up a good point, man. I'll catch you on the other side, though. Brian from Florida, thanks for calling in, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I don't, like I said, I don't often play the video games, but when I do, I love running screens to my running backs. To Justice Haynes, running a screen is like That's like 15 for me every single time. And then crossing routes. And that's an interesting point. It doesn't seem like that is a lot of part of this offense. I've showed you Jalen Middle's grades. We've brought them up before. We've looked at his passing tree. But I kind of look back to, remember when I loved when Tua was the quarterback, because I felt that those crossing routes that he ran, like specifically on those screens or just crossing routes underneath 10 yards, they were so effective. I can't even imagine like somebody like Ryan Williams catching kind of crossing routes with the speed that he has, or even like a Kendrick Law if you can utilize him in that situation. I just saw somebody just tweeted out, I think it was Peter Burns just tweeted out that Alabama versus LSU is basically a elimination game. I think we all know that. I think with Alabama and LSU that every single game for Alabama is an elimination game. I like that because there's no more like ifs or whatever. Like, just win. I think Alabama will also be able to be judged on how they win, but just win. Bama Mike asked Kyle, you think DeBoer was calling the plays? I don't know. Something changed. Like I said, I noticed something significantly change during, I think it was a third or fourth series, somewhere like later in the second quarter. Somebody said that they saw Coach Kalen DeBoer the play sheet. I don't know if I missed that. Did anyone see him with the play? I'm sure he has a play sheet because he's listening to everything. Lynn is inside the comment box. Kyle, do you feel that Bama played a full game yet? I don't think that we have played 4 quarters yet. The defense played 3 good quarters, and the offense played 2. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I look to because that first, I think we can all agree the first quarter against Missouri wasn't it. I think in the second half, you clearly got things going. The defense, yeah, have they played a complete game? Probably not, but they were pretty close to it against Missouri. And look, I'm not looking at like who Missouri was and who they didn't have. Like you have to execute against regardless the opponent. Did they execute? Yeah, they did. But you have to do that on a consistent basis. And the teams coming up, I mean, they are who they are. Chris from New Jersey. Chris, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us.
Kyle, happy Monday, brother.
Happy Monday to you, man.
I want to go let's go positive town bye week Monday.
Okay.
And I've got nothing but good things to say. No negatives. All right. So let's start with I was like Milroe MVP, but I was wrong. The MVP of that game was the entire defense, including Womack.
Love it.
So let's say right now that we battered, you and I, and Undefeated and over again, and didn't say a lot of good things. We battered Womack for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, if you will. And he's really stepped up, and the defense has stepped up. Quarterback or no quarterback, a shutout is a shutout in the SEC. Okay. Now, let's talk about somebody that, you and I and the Undefeated have been battering for the last couple weeks is Sheridan / DeBoer for the offense. And you're right. And you and I were chatting in that you were reading I was like, Kyle, who's calling these plays? Well, we said this a lot, we said this, you and I said this, we said, this is going to be a growing experience, not only for our team, but for our coaching staff. Right. So now all of a sudden, the defense looks like they're getting on the right path. I'm not saying Lynn, we haven't played a complete game. I would agree with anybody who doesn't think that, but look, maybe Sheridan is getting on, he's getting on the right track after we battered him for 3 weeks and DeBoer with the play calling. Now, real fast, Justice Haynes runs hard every time. That's silly. You remember one thing is Jahmyr Gibbs just had an 80-yard touchdown in the NFL,
yes,
which is the fastest people on the planet.
Yes.
And he got tackled in the backfield when we didn't block for him, Kyle. So, you got to block. So just, if you're getting tackled 2 yards in the backfield because people are blowing up your right guard or your right tackle or sometimes our left tackle, then how could you run hard? The guy's tackling you in the backfield. So anyway, okay, well, I'm keep it as positive. Okay, let's go. So Kyle, I'm going to say this about the bye week, why it's going to be better for Bama than it is for LSU. Okay. And I think, number one, I think we need to heal up our players that can play more so than LSU. LSU, unfortunately, lost their best defensive player. what's that guy's name with the, some last name with a P? I can't think of it right now. But, I mean, that guy was unbelievable. I mean, he's out for the season. Mm-hmm. So the bye week doesn't help them get their best player on defense back. Now, and we all know when we have a little bye week, I think DeBoer and Sheridan are going to really shine with the game plan in the first half. Certainly, hopefully, maybe in the second half. But also Womack is going to have some time to really get our defense continue on this great path. So positive. And now I want to just say this, why it's going to be so hard to prepare for Alabama. And it just as any of us, including you, me, the undefeated, is we don't know who we are, Kyle. We don't know who our offense is. Is our offense the anemic offense, or is it that one when all of a sudden we were moving the ball at will? Kyle, I don't know, you probably didn't see it, but I wrote in the chat during the game, the watch along. I was like, is anybody listening to Kyle? He is like shocked that we're moving. I mean, that says it all, Kyle. You were shocked that we were moving the ball down the field. I'm like, and I literally wrote, what happened to our team? Yeah. With Kyle, who follows Bama for a living, is shocked that we're moving the ball. So listen, whatever at those times, whoever was calling the plays, it was Taylor calling the play. She might have been. Did you have the cell phone into the powers to be? Listen, they don't know who's coming to play. Do they have to prepare for the first half team against Georgia, or the second half team against South Carolina, or any of the team that played against Vandy? They don't know who to prepare for. And I'm going to say this on a very positive note going forward. I'm being as positive as I can. Is the defense for Missouri is a better defense than LSU. That's a fact. So, and I love this. Keep on showing this -1.5. I love this. I like the negative rat poison. I love it. Yep. And going in as an underdog is great. And you're right. This is a one-game season. One game season. It's going to be 2 weeks of that. We're going to get healthy. Hopefully, DeBoer and Sheridan are talking about plays we're going to run right now as we speak. And you know what? And on another positive note, did everybody see? I mean, I know you mentioned it. Did you see how fired up he was on Rock Montgomery did? He got a lashing from DeBoer. Yeah. DeBoer's face, I mean, it's always red, but it was like a beat. He looked like his head was gonna explode. Yeah. He turned 50 and he's like, hey, I hope he's got his heart medicine, because Kyle, he was. So this is my call, and notice I went back to being a little longer. I am not paying attention to the trolls in the chat. So anyway, listen, we're going to have a good week. By the way, we're going to be undefeated this week, Kyle, aren't we?
That's right. Yep. Well, good to hear from you, Chris. I appreciate you. So
anyway, listen, listen, my best to your family.
Thank you.
And, we're thinking about you in the undefeated, and, God bless, and, roll Tide, brother.
All right. Roll Tide to you, man. Take it easy, man. All right, that's my good buddy Chris calling from New Jersey. We got an 856 coming up next. Hey, good morning. You're on line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, what's up? This is Rob from New Jersey.
Hey, what's up, Rob? Rob from New Jersey?
Hey, man. Yeah, bang, bang, Niner gang, roll Tide.
Hey, man, that's what's up. Yeah, you got my attention at the bang, bang, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, you know what? Like we have Chris from New Jersey, Rob from New Jersey, Ben with Mike from New Jersey. So I'm with it, man. So I'm feeling good. Look, anytime you get to beat the Cowboys, and you know what's hilarious about this game is the Niners are so depleted. My goodness.
Exactly. I work for the NFL. I work for NFL Film, so I video these. I shoot these games all the time. And I was so happy that they won that game as depleted as we were.
I know. I took the fam last night to Buffalo Wild Wings just for the first half. And by the way, the Buffalo Wild Wings over here got everything was redone in there. The seats were more comfortable. The TVs were clear. And we watched the game. And I had a buddy come who was a Cowboys fan. And I was like, if there's any time that the Cowboys are going to be the Niners, it's tonight. So, look, the Niners, they're depleted. They haven't played the best season, but a win over the Cowboys, that goes a long way for me. Anyways, man, we got Rob from New Jersey, man. Come on in from NFL Films. That's what's up.
That's right, brother. So, yeah, man, first of all, I want to give my deepest condolences to your family. I pray God give you mercy and healing.
Thank you.
In
I
this
appreciate
time
it.
of bereavement for your family. As long as I've known, as long as I can remember, Alabama has been always known for their intimidation and physicality, and not just as a team as a whole, but their offensive line. It used to be so intimidating to teams to know that they got to face their offensive line. And I want to know your opinion on this. Do you think we should sometimes put Melrose under the center and just run the ball down people's throat, man? I mean, just impose their physical will. I mean, at the end of the day, I used to be a lineman, and I know I hated pass blocking, but nothing got me more fired up than knowing that I'm going to bury somebody in the ground, pancake them, just talk over them. Yep. I mean, I think sometimes we need to set tones like that because everybody expects us to be in shotgun, and we're going to probably hand it off, or Melrose going to run this way, or he going to throw it to Williams. We got to start showing people something different. I mean, if we lined up under center in the I formation, man, listen, I think we can do some damage. I mean, wear teams out, because think about this. Most football leagues on every level has become passing leagues. So defense are built to defend the pass. Man, with these big hog mollies we got up front, man, these physical guys, and we always talk about Booker's a first rounder and Proctor's this 390-pound, whatever he is. Let's start leaning on people, man. Let's start running instead of making them backpedal and kick slide in the pass blocking. These guys have to eat. Linemen have to eat. Those guys on the right side, we always criticize them about their pass blocking, this, that, and the other. Let them guys on run blocking. Let them guys get in the game. That can get them in the game by being physical from the door. Linemen, we're not exactly built to just be pass blockers. And that's all I see with our offensive line. They're mainly pass blocking 90% of the time. I just think that – what's your opinion? First, let me hear your opinion on that.
I think when we look to kind of like the dominance of kind of that mentality, I want to see that kind of instilled, because I feel like when you get like your first point you were making about kind of that people were – I'm not exaggerating. I'm about to say this. People were scared to play Alabama football at one point in time. I don't think it's like that right now, but people were terrified. Like, as soon as this team came out, you know what? So much so, I go back to, like, I was talking about, remember Tony Brown, how he used to just walk through opposing teams when they were stretching? That was like, you were terrified. Nobody told him anything. Like, people were terrified of them. And I think kind of that mentality need to get back to that. In terms of the run blocking, kind of the offensive line, I feel like this offensive line, look, I like Caden Proctor. I like Tyler Booker. Parker Brailsford, I think he's won me over. Jaden Roberts, I think he's been injured on the right side. I don't know if they've been imposing as they could be. Wilcom Formby clearly isn't ready. I do like their offensive line coach better than the last one. This Coach Kapilovic, I think he is a guy that can do a good job with the offensive linemen, but I don't know how I feel right now about the offensive line. Look, somebody commented on the hat. I'm wearing the black hat today. I had to give my white one a rest. I'm kind of washing it off the top. But I have my office right here. I have so many Alabama football hats. I have this one right here. I always switch it up. You got to switch out the hat. So I have this one. This is like, I do this for trucker hat sometimes. And then I haven't busted this one out in a while. I got this one at a gas station here in Tuscaloosa. It has on the bill, Alabama. And then it's like camo. And then this one, I haven't busted this one out. No, you guys aren't ready for. I don't even know if I'm ready for this one. Look at this one.
I like the black one because right now I like the black one because now we need to be in the dark place right now. I think about I like the black. That just changed like that Darth Vader. Like, you know, I mean, we need to be that right now. Seriously.
Look at this.
But let me talk about the defense, man.
Rob, hold on.
Talk about the defense real quick.
Rob, hold on. Let me show this hat real quick. This hat is a helmet hat that I got. This is at Dick's Sporting Goods.
I like that.
All right, Rob, on the defense. Go ahead, man. Hit it.
All right, so far as defense, I spoke to my nephew, and it's not a secret. Everybody knows Jahad Campbell's my nephew. Mm-hmm. I had a long conversation with him the night before the game, and I sent him those spoofs that they sent out. It was the Alabama players in the locker room, and the way they were talking to each other, like, yo, we are Bama. Ain't nobody coming. He said, I'm going to knock the guy down. I'm going to choke him out. They think they're ready for – and when he heard that, we were talking about, I said, this is the dark place when I talk about you being in a dark place. You have to just do. Don't think, just do. And I think he kind of answered the bell on that after that conversation because he played pretty darn good. I don't like people talking about players all the time, criticize them, because the sport is so crazy. Like, everybody's hard on Lawson right now, and I don't get that. I mean, Lawson's been a good player for some time now, and, he didn't even play much in the second half. I don't know if you even noticed it or not. He didn't play much, and they thought, because Jefferson, this, that, but he actually had something with his feet or something like that was going on. Mm-hmm. But, like I said, my nephew, Jihad, has been playing through a rotator issue since the second game of the season. These guys are putting it all out on the line. I would rather our fans and our fan base really get behind these guys instead of really kicking them because you really don't know what these guys are going through, man. I'm telling you, man. A lot of these guys, man, are playing. I mean, look at Keon had a broke foot, playing on a broken foot. These guys are laying it all on the line for Bama Nation. Let's be more positive when we have these guys, because, I mean, at the end of the day, you got people such as I, who have family members on the team and listens to this stuff and hears this stuff. Let's be smart. Let's be Bama. Let's we always say Bama's the standard. Well, that goes for the fan base as well. The fan base has to be better than this. I don't like the way this becoming fair weather fan. Don't do that, because that's not what Bama's all about. I believe these guys will have a great game against LSU, because I'm going to tell you why. I watched what they did to Georgia coming out after their bye week. I think that DeBoer and the offensive coordinator are going to come up with a great offensive plan, because they had Georgia not knowing what hit them after that bye week. So that right there gives me great confidence in this game coming up. That's all I'm gonna say right now, man. But like I said, God bless you, man. You and your family.
Before you bounce out, Rob, how are you feeling when Jihad came out with that quarterback sack on that flea flicker?
Well, at the end of the day, let me tell you something about me. One thing about me, and I, like I said, played on the high. I played at the University of Tennessee. I played, a lot of my family has played D1 football. That's expected. He knows from me. I expect that from him. Yeah. And if he doesn't, he knows it's not a thing like, oh, wow, Jihad did this, Jihad did that. When Jihad calls me after the game, because I don't get to come to many games because of my NFL schedule, but when Jihad calls me, it's not about, oh, wow, you did this, you did that. I'm telling him everything he didn't do and he should have done. Yep. I'm always on him because I know what he's capable of. And one thing you're not going to do, because I love the sport, we love the sport as a family, you're not going to sell this sport short. If you're going to be in it, be in it. Do everything possible to be the best player on the field. Be the most dominant player on the field. That's in your preparation, your film study, the way you eat, the rest you get. We don't play that, my family. What he did, when I talked to him, he calls me immediately after every game. And you know what I tell him? Oh, yeah, that was pretty good, but listen, this got to be done better. That got to be done better, because I never want him to be comfortable. If you ever get comfortable in this sport, you're done. Yep. Be very uncomfortable in this sport. Yep. And that's the mindset Jihad Campbell has, and I can speak on that. He has that. He wasn't so all happy and celebrate, because the first I saw the interview post-game, first question came out, oh, Jihad, you had a great game. Jihad was like, nah, I could have done a lot of things better. See what I'm talking about, Kyle?
Yeah.
Never settle.
Love the mindset. That's what's up, Rob. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, God bless you, brother.
Thank you so much, Rob. All right, take it easy. All right, Rob calling in, I really appreciate that. Was a really good call. And I like that. And I think people that have played sports at the highest level, and those of you that are high achievers, you understand kind of that mindset. Like, you didn't win anything from that game against Missouri, but you did have an opportunity to use that momentum to catapult you going forward, right? Kind of bring back that hunger, and really have that underdog mentality going the rest of the way. That's fine. Back is against the wall. I love pressure. I like to play in like really big situations. I'm the type of player that wants the ball. I'm serious. Like, I want the ball when the game's on the line. I want to take the final shot. I want to hit that, like now, like in my old man life, right? I like, yo, you need a putt hit on the golf course. I got it, right? You want cornhole to win? I got you, right? So that's the time that you need. Look, you know what I might do? I'm getting a lot of feedback on the hat. I'm going to raffle this hat off. It's not for me, okay? Like, I put it on. I'm not ready for it. If you guys are interested, I will raffle this hat out this week. If you want to just go get this hat, you can get it at Dick's Sporting Goods. I saw it and I was like, I never seen a helmet hat like this, so I went and got it. I will raffle this hat out. See, people, I like my hat game. I don't know if I'm ready for this hat, so I might have to raffle it off to somebody else. But I appreciate you guys calling in today. And thank you so much for the thoughts and prayers out to my family. If you missed it earlier, my grandfather passed away this morning peacefully at his home in Clayton, New Mexico. So at some point, maybe I mean, this is all fresh, and I appreciate you guys, cruising with me today. Obviously, work is work, but, I am hurting. He was a great man, married to my grandmother for 65 years, something like that. And a lot of our family is my mother's father. So thank you very much for the prayers. I appreciate it. And at some point in time, I'll be going back to New Mexico, not moving back to New Mexico, someone asked, but going back for the services, and rightfully so. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here today on the show. Remember, Coach Kalen DeBoer, he's at the Birmingham Quarterback Club today. So you'll be seeing that. I'm sure there's some other sites that will be uploading it. And we will we'll still have a regular show. As I said, I think I'm moving my show to 10 a.m. Central Time instead of 9 a.m. I think this will be a good opportunity to do that. So I'm going to play with that this week. So just kind of write that on your schedule. The show will start at 10 a.m. this week as a live, and I'll keep you posted on my schedule inside the comment box, community tab, all that stuff. Thank you so much for being here. As news happens, I got you covered right here at Bama Football on YouTube. I hope you have a wonderful day. And today is Monday, October 28th. This was a good show. I was feeling it, and I know you guys were too. Thank you so much. One more time, coming to you from Hollywood, Alabama, Kyle Henderson.